Well, hello there, and I hope everyone is having a good day. We're going to be talking today about how to take care of yourself so that you're more effective in helping your kids with anxiety or OCD. And this is part of my 3-part video series on self-care for parents who are raising kids with anxiety and OCD. And this is a supplement to the video series that hopefully some of you have been watching to help yourself kind of reset so that you're able to be more effective for your kids. I have found that in my practice, the parents that pause once in a while and take the time to reset themselves do so much better, and their kids do better. Their kids are in therapy shorter periods of time when we once in a while focus our attention on how are we handling all this stuff that's going on? How are we handling our own stress? How are we approaching our kids? And so we're going to dive into that all today. If you did not watch the second video of the 3-part series, don't worry about it. It will be up all the way up until Sunday, and you can watch all the videos. They're on one page. So there's a link above, and if you're not registered for the 3-part video series, you can click that link, you can join, and you can catch up with us. Tomorrow, video number 3 comes out, and I will be doing my last Facebook Live tomorrow to cover video 3. But even if you haven't watched any of the videos yet, this is going to still be relevant to you because we are going to talk about it, and we're going to explore how to take care of ourselves. And today I'm going to be talking about the stress in our body and how we hold our stress. And you may think that that's not related, but when we look at our stress and we look at our physical reaction to the things that are going on around us, our family dynamics, our children's anxiety or OCD, our body can give us a lot of clues that we don't read into. Our body can give us a lot of precursor, proactive indications we're on fire if we know what to look for. And that is really important. It's important for a couple of reasons. I'm going to go into that. But first, I want to say hi and see who's with me live. So how many of you were able to watch the video series? You can let me know if you got the first video or the second video. And then let's talk about stress. So hi, Naomi, welcome back. I'm glad you're here again. So if you haven't watched the videos yet, that's okay. They are up and they're ready for you. You should have gotten a link in your email. Hi, Lisa, thanks for joining. So let's dive into what we're gonna be talking about today. Where do you guys keep your stress? Can you know, are you tuned into your body and do you know where you can physically feel it? Lisa said she's watched them both. They're really good. I appreciate that. I do this series about 4 times a year, and I'm finding that it's important to keep doing. And so I was only going to do this series 1 time, and then I got flooded with emails after the first time where people were saying, when are you going to do that again? I missed it. When are you going to do it again? And I realized I'm going to do this like every quarter or so to help parents reset. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining. And I actually find that it helps me too. I become a better parent every time that I do this series because I focus on my parenting and I kind of reset myself. So Naomi says that she feels her stress in her shoulders and neck. And I'm going to just do something so I can see comments coming through here because I don't always get to see names, and that will help. Renee says both. So I think she watched both. Kelly said, I've watched both videos. I feel stress in my shoulders, but I think I need to tune into my body more. I have been very disconnected with my body. Like historically, that has been an ongoing issue for me. And it's an issue for a lot of the kids I work with who have anxiety. The mind-body connection is sometimes disconnected. And being able to understand your mind-body connection is really important. My stomach always hurts when I'm like super stressed. And Lisa said hers is in her neck and her head, but I also get this overwhelming feeling in her chest. And it's interesting because I feel, and I don't know how you guys are, but for me, and Renee said tension, headaches, waves of chest, anxiety, no energy. Yeah, and you're seeing a lot of common issues, right? Headaches, tension in the neck. I get it right here, but there's normally kind of a ladder of stress, and I don't know how you guys are, but with me, there are like low levels of stress physically that I can start to feel, and then they start to grow. And when I'm initially stressed, I might feel a little out of breath. I might feel nauseous. And then as it gets, I might feel tightness here. But then when I am having chest pain, that's like me, really like done, right? So what is your done? Megan said, Megan, back again to learn more. Thank you, Megan. I am going to be announcing the winners of the hashtag AT self-care drawing at the end of this class. So stay tuned for that. I got a lot of hashtags, a lot of good ahas from our first video, and I want to announce the winner of that. Megan said she noticed that her hands shake a lot or get what I call Flappy Bird. I wonder what that is, like kind of like that. Also, I find like I talk fast, like I can calm everyone down if I talk more. That's interesting. I see that a lot with the kids in my practice where they talk more. Actually, my 16-year-old does that. I didn't even really connect the dots until I just read your comment, where she will talk a lot more when she feels the stress of the family. So that's interesting. Julie said, I clench my teeth. Fatigue, yeah, feel lightheaded. So these are all physical symptoms, and you kind of want to, and in the worksheet for this video series, for this second video, I talk about finding out where the stress is in your body and starting to really pay attention. So a lot of times people don't know until they experience it that they're having stress. They may not even connect the dots that, oh, this gastrointestinal upset actually means I'm having anxiety. Often, I don't know I'm anxious until my body tells me. And so it's not the other way around. It's not like I'm anxious and then my body feels it. More often than not for me, and this is a disconnect, I will have some gastrointestinal issues. I was diagnosed with IBS like last year, and all of a sudden, my stomach will just be in knots. And I know that when I'm having IBS symptoms, like my stress level must have been super, super bad for an extended period of time. Oh, why can't I tell who that is? I tend to grind my teeth when I get really stressed. I do too. And so like a clenched jaw where like you don't realize that you're clenching until you try to relax your jaw and you're like, oh my gosh, I was clenching the whole time. So those are all really important things to notice, and to notice to what level does it mean that you're stressed. So if clenched jaw is like maybe the initial thing, and then you know, like if you're like feeling nauseous, you're like here. And if maybe you're throwing up or your back is thrown out or something bigger is happening, you know that that is like multiple days of stressness. Those are clues that you have to take care of yourself. So I want to go into that today, like how to take care of yourself and how to tune in and put a pause on whatever's happening with your child to take care of yourself. Because now more than ever with coronavirus and our need to have a really healthy immune system, we have to take care of ourselves. And Christina said, panic attacks, 3 kidney stone surgeries, and I have fibromyalgia. Yikes, that is rough. And I've had 2 out of those 3, and panic attacks are not fun. You know, feeling like you're out of control. You can't ground yourself, and kidney stones are really not fun. I have not had kidney stone surgery. I have had 2 kidney stones, and I've had a stent put in me to clear out a stone, and that's not fun either. So that's a good sign. And sometimes, unfortunately, you don't even know that you're building all that stress up until you actually have a kidney stone, which is hard. Amy said, I've only watched video 1 and I'm halfway through the second one, but they've been so helpful already. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. I'm hoping that this is kind of just a nice reboot. It's stuff that isn't rocket science, but it's stuff that we don't focus on often enough. So I want to help you with your immune system, because if we don't tune into stress, stress turns into disease. Disease is not being at ease, right? I mean, that's the origin of the word. And so when we don't take care of ourselves, we get sick. And none of us can afford to get sick or have a compromised immune system right now, because that will kind of take us down. And so I'm being even more cognizant of my stress level, even though it's higher because of all the things that are happening in our world, because I don't want to get sick, because I can't afford to get sick and be out of commission for my kids. And so a lot of us are feeling the exact same way. And that's going to mean that we're going to have to pay even more attention to our stress and our bodies. Miranda said, stiff neck muscles, migraines, and shortness of breath, and I tend to feel jittery. I have that too. Not to like relate to everybody who's talking, but I like have a lot of physical symptoms, and it sounds like a lot of you do too. I think everybody does, but they're not clued in to what part of their body is screaming at them that says you're having some stress right now. So you also want to look at your behaviors. What kind of things do you do when you're feeling stressed. So not only do we have physical sensations in our body, but we actually do behaviors and actions that indicate we're not okay. So we want to key into these, because we're going to talk about this in this class. You want to take all that. That's evidence. Those are clues that you're not okay. And sometimes mentally, we're not registering that we're not okay. We're so focused on helping our children with anxiety or OCD, or our own world and our own stressful life, that we're not being clued in to how our stress is growing and growing and growing until we pop. And a lot of times that happens to our kids too. Everything I'm talking about today is relevant to our kids. They do the exact same thing. Their stress and their anxiety and their OCD go and go until they explode. And we talked about this yesterday in the Facebook Live class about difficult behavior, and how a lot of times for kids, it comes out as irritability, opposition, aggression, talking back, being defiant, having meltdowns, right? That's the physical manifestation of anxiety and stress on a child and adults. What are your behaviors? What things happen to you when you're starting to feel overwhelmed? So I know for me, I become nasty. So when I'm like just, snipping at my kids, and I'm, sometimes I'll actually physically do this. When I put my hands together and I breathe deeply, that's a really bad sign that I'm not okay. And my kids know it. They can pick up on that, and they see me when I'm like, and I'll pause for a minute because I'm about to explode, and I'll be like, I cannot answer you because I'm not okay right now. And my kids know, okay, she's not okay. But that's a sign for me too, when I'm doing that I'm not okay and that I need to pause. So what are some behavioral indications that you need to pause? I also clean. I angry clean. Do you guys, I don't know, angry clean? I don't know, there's a term for that. But I clean in a very angry sort of way. It brings order and calm to me. If I'm cleaning excessively, that's a problem. Lisa said I get short, irritated, and yell. And Naomi said she has a short temper. She doesn't speak. That's me too. I get quiet. Clenched fists and jaw clenched, about to flip. Yep, that's Renee. So looking at your physical stuff, somebody else angry cleans. Who said that? Renee did, right? And Lisa said, I'll eat junk food. I'll not do anything because I'm overwhelmed, right? So getting clued into these actions that you'll do that say I'm not okay. Because even though it seems obvious, a lot of us are not paying attention. We're not paying attention inwardly. We're paying attention outwardly, and we're responding. Randa said, yes, I angrily clean. It's like therapy. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. It is like therapy. It actually is very helpful for me when I angry clean. It's helpful for me, and it's helpful for the house. What I will do is I will actually put my AirPods in, or I have these like pretty cheap noise canceling headphones that I bought, and I will tune everyone out. And I will let my kids know, and I don't want to get into this, is the next point, is when you're having all these things, do you let your kids know that you're not okay? Sometimes, especially now when our kids are home with us, I mean, most of us have our kids home 24/7. We're not being able to kind of get a reprieve, and our kids aren't like, most of our kids aren't going out to summer camps and things like that. We're not on trips as much. Do you let your kids know that you're not okay? And Julie said, I get extremely irritated with mess as well. Yes, that is, we talked about yesterday. Now, if you missed our Facebook Live yesterday, it is pinned to the top of wherever you're watching me, unless you're watching me on my profile. I can't pin anything on my profile, but in the Facebook group and on my page and in YouTube, that's where this is where I'm streaming right now. It will be pinned to the top, and so you can go back and watch it, because we talked yesterday about triggers. That was our main focus, was your mindset and how you're viewing your child's anxiety or OCD, how you're viewing your parenting, and what your triggers are, right? And so a mess, that was my trigger. That's what I talked about yesterday, and it was a lot of other people's as well. Welcome, Alejandra. Thanks for joining. She said, I can't concentrate. I don't finish chores or work, just walk around home without finishing anything. I procrastinate. And Megan said, usually when I'm triggered, one of my kids is either on the edge of a meltdown or in the middle. How would you handle that? That's a great question. Sometimes you have to know if you're not okay, and you have to put the pause button on. And I have done this where my child's not okay, but I'm not okay. And so I'm not going to be an anchor in that moment. I am going to sink and drown with them. It's one of those things, like when you see someone who is drowning in a pool, you don't jump in with them. You know, you throw them a lifesaver or life preserver, lifesaver. But if you're not okay, you can't have access to that. And so it's either jumping in the pool with them or just getting out of that whole situation altogether. Which I guess is not a really good example because it sounds like we're going to leave our kid to drown. But sometimes if they're being safe, but they're having a meltdown, it's time for me to go somewhere else. And I'm actually pretty expressive with my kids where I'll say, I'm not okay, or I'm feeling stressed, and I'm going to put my headphones on, because noise for me, and we talked about this yesterday, that for some of you, chaos and overstimulation and noise is a trigger. It is for me. And so I will say, I'm going to put my headphones on and I'm going to I actually go and clean. So I'll say, I'm going to go do the laundry. I'm going to do the dishes, whatever I can find where I can tune off, and I will leave. And so that's what I would recommend, Megan. It depends on your child and your personality and your child's personality, but it's okay to let our kids know that we're not okay. I have a sign. I haven't used it in a while, but I should probably start using it again because I've been very stressed lately. But I have a sign with my kids where I'll verbally do this. Well, it's not verbally, it's physically do this. And I actually recommend this in my practice for kids to convey too. When you don't have the words to say, I'm done, you can say, where are you, right? Where are you? Are you here? Are you here? If you're here, you're about to explode, right? And so we can use these visual prompts and cues for our kids, but we can also use them for ourselves to our kids. And we can say, this is kind of what I say sometimes to my kids, I'm not okay right now. I'm having a really stressful week, and it's not about you. We have to say that, right? Now, if it is about them, we just leave that out completely because we don't want to blame them, but we don't want to lie to them. So a lot of times I'm stressed and it doesn't have to do with my kids. So I might say, I'm having a really rough week. I'm feeling very stressed right now. It's not about you, but I don't need you to come near me right now because I'm not okay. I'm here. And so I don't have much wiggle room. So I'll just say, I'm here. So I'm going to go listen to my headphones and I'm going to go do the dishes or something like that. But letting them know that you're not okay can actually be very helpful because we have very sensitive children, and they can, if we don't say that we're not okay, they're not emotionally blind. Most of our kids are very in tune, and so they can feel that we're not okay. So we want to let them know that what they're feeling is on target, that they're not going crazy. But we also want to let them know that there's nothing they can do to fix it, because sometimes we have little fixers who want to come in and make it all okay. That's not healthy. It's not a healthy dynamic. And sometimes it's not about them, but they're sensitive and they think everything is about them. And so how many of your kids are really upset when you're stressed? How many of your kids get really sensitive and say, you know, did I do something wrong? Are you mad at me? My 16-year-old is the most sensitive around that. And she's always like, are you mad at me? Did I say something wrong? And my 8-year-old, she's much more in tune, and she'll just be like, why are you not okay? I can't say anything to her without her getting sensitive. So anything I say when I'm not okay, anything that I say where I snap at her, she will take very personally. So I could be proactive and I can tell her, I'm not okay right now. I'm in a bad mood. It's not about you. And then she can kind of, my tone won't upset her as much. Lisa said that's true. Mr. 19 assumes that it's always about him, but it's not. Yeah, and I think that a lot of kids, let me just mark something really quick. A lot of kids will take it personally. Julie said my kid, 5 years, gets extremely clingy when I'm not okay. He literally holds on to me until I have to lock myself in the bathroom. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know if it was you or somebody else who said that yesterday as well. And sometimes our kids have anxious attachments where the more upset we get, the more clingy they get. And that can be really hard because it's almost like we have to kind of have a facade of being okay so we can get away from them so that we can get that reprieve, which isn't helpful either. And he's only 5. And so sometimes it's starting to say, mommy needs a break. You know, I need a reset. I use that word reset a lot, and it's never too early to start using those kind of words to build their emotional vocabulary. And a reset is a really good word I like, because instead of timeout in here in my house or anything like that, we just say, you need to reset, go reset. Randa said, I always grew up feeling like we are always supposed to be okay in front of our kids. Like if I tell them I'm not, that means I'm not the perfect mom to them. My daughter always thinks I'm mad at her or she isn't a good kid. That's such a good comment, because that's really at the heart of what I'm trying to say is we're human. And having that perception that we're bad parents if we let our kids see that we're not okay, is a falsehood. I think it's how we do it, right? We don't want to be, we don't want to treat our kids like they're our confidants and say, I'm not okay. And let me tell you all the reasons why I'm not okay. But to have this facade of perfectionism and to say, happy, happy, joy, joy, I'm fine, and never model for them how to work through difficult feelings is a gift that we're holding back, because we can give the gift of being human, being non-perfect, and showing them what it looks like to have difficult feelings and try to work through it. And sometimes that's messy. And I know with my kids, sometimes it's messy where I'm not a perfect mom, and I don't handle it in a perfect way. And then I come back a few hours later, or sometimes I come back a day later, and I apologize. And I say to my kids, I was kind of a beast yesterday. Actually, this happened last week at bedtime. I was a beast. Like, I was just so tired, and I was just like, go to bed, go to bed. And I was like just screaming, I don't have time for this. I'm tired. I just want to go to bed. You guys go to bed. I was not a good mom. And my kids were just like, right? And my daughter was like, I'm scared. I'm like, I don't have time for this. And she's like, and you're a therapist? She threw that one out at me. And I was in rare form. And the next day I woke up and I said, I'm sorry. That was not okay. I was feeling so exhausted. I was feeling so tired. I didn't have time for anything. And that wasn't okay. I wasn't being very patient with you. And I should have taken a break and calmed myself down. So I'm still modeling for them imperfection, and I'm modeling for them that it's okay to own our negative behaviors. It's okay to have mistakes, and also what I should have done. And that is actually better parenting. So I give you permission to let your kids know that you're not okay. It's actually a helpful tool in the toolbox to model for our kids. Now I find that my kids will sometimes say, I'm not okay, or I'm up to here. And they'll kind of model after a lot of the stuff that I wind up doing. I'm here, I'm going to go reset, or I need some time alone, or I'm putting my headphones on. And they're modeling stuff that I do. And I'm okay with that, because those are good, healthy coping mechanisms. Hi, Stacy. Thanks for joining. Andrea said, yes, Mr. 14 is so sensitive to my moods. And our kids are, and I want to talk about that as well. I know, really, my 8-year-old is the most sensitive to my moods. I guess both my daughters are sensitive. And how do we explain to them that it's okay for us to be upset, and even upset with them, but that doesn't mean that we don't hate them, that we still love them. And so I always explain to my kids, I've explained this to my 8-year-old, especially because she's younger, and this can help with your daughter, Raina, and then who else had the 5-year-old? I'm just trying to think, seeing the names here. But when you have younger kids, Julie. So this can help with Julie too. When you have a younger child and they are very sensitive, I always say to my kids, I'm your life teacher, and I'm here to teach you about life lessons. You go to school to learn about math and reading, and my job is to teach you about making good decisions, about how to help you with your moods, how to help you know what's right and wrong, how to live life. That's my job. That's a big job. And sometimes you're going to mess up because you're a kid and you're not coming out of my womb knowing all these things. And so I'm going to have to redirect you. I'm going to have to tell you, that wasn't a great decision. Let's try again. Or you need to go pick up your shoes. I told you twice already. I'm going to have to tell you those things. And it's not because I hate you. It's because I love you and I'm doing my job. I'm a life teacher. So when I'm able to do that kind of stuff, I find that helps a little bit with the sensitivity. Not always, because they're sensitive, and what are you going to do with that? So communicating that you're stressed is an important thing. You can sit down with your kids at a time when you're not stressed. I always find everything I recommend is better to do at a time where no one's activated and the situation is not happening in that moment. So even when we talk about anxiety or OCD, and I talk to parents about building those skills, it's normally about building those skills in a quiet, calm time and developing kind of the foundation of how you're going to approach things when things are not on fire. So it's good. You can sit with your kids today and you can say, sometimes I get stressed. You can even do this mini class with them, like I'm doing with you, and say, where do you feel your stress? Do you feel it in your neck? Do you feel it in your stomach? Do you get a headache? I'm like that too. Everybody's like that. And when I'm feeling stressed, I get kind of barky. I get really angry. I can sometimes scream and shout. And so let's come up with a code word, or let's come up with a code gesture that will show us when we're stressed. And so that's a really cool thing to do with your kids. It will help them. It will actually help you too. And then you'll be more likely to do it. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. The other thing I want to talk about, and this is kind of changing topics a bit, is the stress that comes with working harder than your children. How often are you guys working harder at your child's anxiety or OCD than they are? And that builds up a lot of stress, a lot of physical stress in the body, and just a lot of stress in general. How many of you feel like you're the one that's always pushing to work on their anxiety or OCD, and you're the one that's always like, hey, did you do that exposure? Did you do that challenge? Are you going to face your fears that you're feeling like you're having to always do everything? Renee said 100%. And I know that can really be draining on you physically and emotionally. And so we want to talk about that, because when we foster independence, when we separate and detach from our child's anxiety and OCD, and that's a very hard thing to do, to detach, we emotionally and physically do better. And it's hard to compartmentalize all the things that are going on with our kids, but it is, one, so much better for them, and I'll talk about this in a second, and it's so much better for you physically and emotionally. Megan said, all the time, I'm the one saying, let's make this better. Yeah, and it can get kind of frustrating. So what I notice is, in my practice, when I'm working harder than a child that's coming to see me, or in my home, when I'm working harder than my child is at their OCD, I will say to them, I'm working harder than you. And this is your journey. I always say, this is your journey. This is your anxiety or OCD. This is not my anxiety and OCD. And I love you, and I don't want you to have this. I don't say that for the kids in my practice, but for my own kids, I love you. And but this isn't for me to fix. This is for you to fix, right? And Julie said, yes, I feel like I'm always bringing up the deep stuff. I feel as though I'm exhausting to everyone in the family, but I'm 100% devoted to improving mental health. And Lisa said, so it's okay to compartmentalize. I think it's not only okay, I think it's a necessity. I think we cannot absorb our child's struggles to the level that now it is symbiotic. Like, their struggles are literally our struggles. Their pain is our pain. We have to be able to compartmentalize a little bit. We have to be able to detach in order to help. If we are so enmeshed that we are literally absorbing all the stress from our child, we're not going to be that anchor that can sit there in a more stoic sort of way, a more observant sort of way, and help them in a more detached way. That doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean that you give up. It just means that you have to protect your own emotional, physical, and mental health in order to be more effective for your child. If you're all in to the point where you're so consumed that you're anxious, and I've met with so many families in my practice where I'm meeting both the child and the parent, and it's like I have two clients because they're both on fire. One will say, I'm really stressed about this and I don't know how to handle it. And the parent will pipe in and say, we are both so stressed about this. We both don't know how to handle it. And I don't have an anchor in there. I just have two bobbing, anxious people. And that's not something that we can necessarily control, but it's something that we can identify and something that we can work with. So we want to slowly empower our kids to be independent and to start working on their own anxiety and OCD. That doesn't mean that we don't get involved. We learn how to be a coach instead of being in the driver's seat with them. And so I set up, and we're not going to get into this too much today because that's not really what this class is about, but I set up a lot in my online classes. I talk about how to set up a structure, a foundation where your child is learning to own their stuff. They're learning how to identify their anxiety and OCD. You can set up reward systems, but then it's up to them whether they want to do it or not. And so it is important to sometimes compartmentalize, absolutely. And this actually happened with my son this week, where I felt like I was micromanaging his eating. And we talked about this in the last Facebook Live yesterday, where he has ARFID and he has OCD, he has PANS. And so he goes through these periods of time where he just won't eat. And the intrusive thoughts they vary. And currently it's about the taste. And he's not a picky eater. It comes on and then it just stays around for a little while. And then it disappears like it never existed. And so it's very frustrating. And I've been micromanaging what he's eating. And yesterday, when he was like not eating even his shake, which was my goal for yesterday, I said to him, you know what? I'm not going to pay attention to what you're eating anymore, because this is your journey. This is your OCD. And really your eating is going to be up to you. You know what to do. I've worked with you so much. You know what you need to do. That's going to be up to you. And he got a little nervous about it. He's like, you're not going to remind me to eat? And I said, I'm not anymore, because I'm tired and I'm frustrated and I feel like I'm working 10 times harder than you. And he was like, well, I'm going to eat tomorrow. I'm going to eat my chicken, and then I'm going to eat, what should I eat for breakfast? And he started going through his menu. And when he got up this morning, he came in and he goes, I'm going to eat some chicken. And I was like, okay, you could do whatever you want. Eat it or not eat it. It's up to you. And I started to see more ownership today. Not to say that that will always happen with your kids, but I started to see some progress today. But I was done. I needed a break from babysitting how much he ate. And so that was my way of taking care of myself. It's a reprieve. Alejandra said, it's been difficult to detach, but I'm working on that. I repeat to myself, it's her fight. I'm only her coach, as you've told us. That's awesome. And you're in the AT parenting community, so you've been well trained. And detaching is a process. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that happens over time, and it's something that you fine tune. And it's not something that happens permanently. Like I sometimes get too involved and then I have to detach again. And then I get too involved and I have to detach again. Meryl said, I'm going through the eating issue with my 13-year-old daughter now. It's scaring me. Eating is very scary. It is one of those, there are certain things with our children's anxiety and OCD that's hard. A second, but you can see me. Sure. So let me know if you can see me. I've had some problems lately with training. See if it comes back. Talking if you can't see me. Okay, I'm back. That was very weird. Okay. We'll see if I'm paused. That's very annoying. But you really want to be able to, I'm looking at myself back. Let me just refresh so I can see. Let me know if you can see me. So I'm going to pause so that you don't miss anything that I'm going to be saying. Who can see me? Can you see me or hear me? I know it looks like I'm frozen. I don't want to restart this. So we'll just see if it will come back. Facebook is no longer my friend. I'm not going to like Facebook anymore. It's a little choppy. Okay, well, at least I'm coming back. So, all right, well, we'll continue because frozen on and off, missing the eating comments. Okay, it's freezing. It's freezing. Seems better now. Yeah, you know, for some reason, we had this issue yesterday too. I don't know if it's Facebook, but normally if I wait a second, it starts to come back. And so it looks like I'm back. Yay! I really hate when that happens. It's very annoying. Okay, sorry about that, but I'm glad you stuck with me. So thank you for sticking with me. I appreciate that. So I forgot what I was actually even talking about. I like lose my train of thought. So we're talking about fostering independence and the importance of being able to foster independence and knowing how to detach and compartmentalize. I think it's important to know when to pause, either on a large scale, or know when to pause when you just need to in that moment. Seems okay now, but I'm not getting all the comments. Can you mention about the eating again, please? I had to take a step back with my 15-year-old from school and his grades. It was one of the hardest things that I've had to do. The arguments and fighting were horrible every day, afternoon and night. I need him to start taking ownership. Okay, so I was talking about eating, and I'm going to go back to Christina after that. eating is a tricky one because it's something that our kids need to do in order to, be alive. And it can be scary because you can watch the weight drip off your kids. And I know that I've experienced that myself. And it's scary. And so a lot of it is trying to empower our kids. I talk a lot about that if he loses weight, the ramifications of that, and giving him some choices. And we're not going to go into food and eating issues, because that's not the purpose of this class, but it is something near and dear, and I get it. I get the food issues are really, really tough. I'll give you just a little bit on food. At my house, we would make like a sheet, and we would talk about his green safe foods, his yellow foods that are not 100% safe, and his red foods that he will definitely not eat. And we keep a list to keep growing that list and keep him cognizant of what he's eating and what he's not eating. But sometimes I get tired, and I'm just like, and he's 10. So I'm like, make your list. You know what you need to do. We've been through this before. And you need to, what things are you committed to eating today? And power through them. We also have a lot of behavioral modification where he can earn stuff if he eats certain things, or if I see him leave something and I know that it's because he had an intrusive thought, I will give him a reward. I'll say, if you can do an exposure and eat that anyway, or touch it to your lips, whatever the thing is, you can earn a reward. And so we use a lot of privilege points. I use the app Privilege Points, and we use a lot of motivation, external motivation, to get him to eat. But I don't want to try harder than him. And so sometimes I take a step back and just say, just let me keep me posted on what you're doing, but let me know. And I just monitor it from afar. Okay. So I want to talk about Christina, because she was saying, I had to take a step back with my 15-year-old from school and his grades. It was one of the hardest things that I've had to do. The arguments and fighting were horrible every day. And that's a really good example too. When you're not getting any return, you kind of have to ask yourself, is this argument worth arguing anymore? Is this argument worth a fight? Because if my child cares so much less than I do, at what point do I just say, this is your deal? And ironically, sometimes I do find that is empowering. Sometimes pulling back, and I've done this with kids in my practice. If it'll come back, but I'm just going to keep going. So sometimes, well, maybe I'll wait a second. I'll try to be patient. It's going to be very annoying on YouTube because I don't think it's probably going to be too choppy on YouTube. But I apologize for that. Okay, I think we're coming back. But I have, with kids in my practice, I've said, you're not doing any of the homework. You're not doing any of the work. I feel like I'm trying 10 times harder than you are. And so if you're not able to do the exposures, and you can't hear me, hopefully you can hear me now. We're having a rough time with Facebook. So upsetting. I applaud you as parents. So hard for us to decide which way to handle things. It can be very tricky. And I think you have to gauge what's right for your child, and you have to gauge what's happening in that moment. And your response will be different at different times, and that'll be hard. Okay, I'm back. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you keeping me updated. That does help me. So sometimes I will say, I'm trying harder than you are, and so I'm not going to try anymore. And sometimes, and it depends on the child, and you really have to, figure out if this would be the appropriate response, particularly depending on their age. But sometimes I'll say, I'm going to go on. This is what I'll say to my kids sometimes. I'm going to go on with my life. And if you don't fight your anxiety or OCD, then it's going to be a big issue, because then you're not going to be able to do the things that you love, and highlight to your child, what is anxiety and OCD robbing from you right now? And try to motivate them. And sometimes I'll pause and I'll say, what do you want to work on? Or what do you want to do? I'll say this a lot in my practice too. I'll say, where do you want to go next? And then they'll be like, I don't know. And I'm like, this is your deal. This isn't my deal. I'm here to coach you and support you, and so are your parents. But where do you want to go next? And I make them do the work. Now, sometimes kids are not motivated at all, and they don't want to do any work. But when I'm getting spent, whether it is as a therapist I'm getting exhausted, or as a parent I'm getting exhausted, I know that I'm swinging too far, and I'm being over involved, and I have to take a step back. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. Lisa said, I had to let go of my son with his school refusal. It was hard, but I let him withdraw when he was 17 because he was so far behind and not making any progress because he wasn't doing what he needed to do. Yeah, and sometimes I feel like if our kids think that we're going to hold them, like metaphorically, for the rest of their lives, they won't own it themselves. It's really sometimes, and I don't know about your son, Lisa, but sometimes it's only when we let go, metaphorically, that they are like, oh my gosh, I need to step up because she's not caring as much. And it's not true that you don't care. It's you're detaching. And I really need to own this. Lisa said, obviously it was a lot more than that, but that is the gist of it. Yeah. And I have found, surprisingly, in my practice, I have found a lot of kids actually start to really work on their stuff when I tell them, I'm done trying. I'm trying harder than you. And with my kids too. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you to do any exposures anymore. Like if you want to live with this and this is not a fun thing, then that's your choice. And a lot of times they will be more motivated. So something to look at. So I also want to talk about how do you recharge? So I'm going to switch gears right now and talk about how do you recharge. So now we talked about your mindset, your triggers. We also know about your physical reactions, your behavioral reactions. What do you do to recharge? So if you can still hear me, leave a comment in the comments and let me know what are some concrete ways that you recharge. For me, we already talked about me. I like to cut off my sound. That is literally the first thing that I find effective is reducing sound. I get overwhelmed by sound. So I will put my noise canceling headphones on or my AirPods and I will reduce the sound. That helps in the moment. I also like to get away. I need some, Naomi said sound bath. Yes, that could be really, really helpful. I use brain waves and delta waves if I'm really bad. I use an app called Brainwaves, and it really helps me. Lisa said she walks. Walking is really helpful. Get out of the house. I live in Arizona, so it's like 111 out today. But a lot of people in Arizona have pools, and so I will actually go into the pool. We just got a pool, thank goodness. And I'll tell my kids not to come outside. Take a walk on the treadmill right now. 6 miles a day. Wow, that's impressive. Since all this crazy stuff started, continuing it has really calmed me. And that's Megan. That's really great. Kelly, walking, reaching out to friends and reading, listening to podcasts or music, going to my room and shutting the door, go out and sit on the deck. That's an awesome one. Lisa, I go in my room and hang out with my cats. Animals are so helpful. Julie says she goes to work, sometimes walks the dog, need to work on my self-care. Yeah. Locking myself in the bathroom and having a bath, but I have to wait until someone can mind the kids. Alejandra, long walks alone with my dog and watching series on Netflix. These are all really good ones. Knowing what you can do to take care of yourself. And I think a lot of people don't really even know what they do. They just do it because it feels good, but they don't have go-to things that they do. Sarah said, reading helps me, or going for a walk. If I'm really stressed, I go for a nap. Yeah, and any way that you can kind of trying to think of the right word, like retune yourself can be very helpful. For me, like watching Netflix is really helpful because it puts me in another story, or reading or listening to an audiobook helps me because it puts me somewhere else. And then my mood changes because I'm somewhere else. And then when I come back, I'm in a better mood. Swimming actually does that for me too. So it sounds like exercise for a lot of you helps as well, or water, or sounds. And so being aware of that can be very, very helpful. Having a list in your head, like these are my 3 go-to things. This is what I do when I'm feeling stressed, can be helpful. I put on a good podcast or put on loud music on my headphones. I love that. I think that's really, really helpful. So my whole purpose of today's class is for you to get clued into your physical triggers, your behaviors, to notice them before you explode or before you have a panic attack or before you get a kidney stone. Start to pay attention to those things. A lot of us already do. I don't. I'm not good at reading myself. I have to have the reminder. This actually reminds me. I like to listen to loud music too, Lisa said. That's a good one. Locking myself in the bathroom and having a bath. Oh, wait, I already read that. It's over here. It's over there. So I want you to just have that awareness of these are the ways that I'm stressed. This is how it's going to show up physically. If I'm cleaning, if I'm angry cleaning, that one's for me and a couple of you, I know that I'm not okay. I may not mentally know that I'm not okay, but I'm physically showing that I'm not okay. And then I'm going to go and do my go-to things and have a short list. For me, it would be swimming, not listening, putting something on my ears, and maybe going to another room. So have your short list for you. Bon Jovi. Lisa said Bon Jovi. Good old Bon Jovi. I was really into Def Leppard as a teenager, followed them around. So have your music, have your playlist that is like your relaxing playlist. I have brainwaves on my phone, on my iPad. It's an app that gives you delta waves. And so it is there the minute someone's upsetting me and I can start to feel like me tightening, I put them in. Lisa said, Natasha Daniels, come here and angry clean. It only works at my house for my mess, not for yours, Lisa. That's funny. So I hope that you'll connect the dots and take care of yourself. It's okay to put a pause on anything that's happening with your kids as long as they are physically safe. And somebody else like Metallica. Yeah, I was way into that in high school. And do the things that will take care of you and then come back. Your kids will still be there. They will still have their problems. It's okay to not have resolution in the moment, even if they're having a meltdown or on the verge of a meltdown. Sometimes it's okay to just go take care of yourself and come back. You're going to be in a much better place to handle that and to take care of them. It's going to go down better if you just take that pause, take that hour, even if your child's not happy about it, and they may not be. You might be locked in the bathroom with headphones on with your 5-year-old knocking on the door, but you need that in order to be an effective parent and to come out and approach it in a different way. So I hope that you're finding this series helpful. I'm hoping that you're finding these Facebook Live supplements helpful. I'm going to be doing one more tomorrow at 1 o'clock, 4 p.m. Eastern. So 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I hope you'll join me. We're going to be talking about connection and how people can recharge us or deplete us and how to pay attention to who we have around us and how to handle difficult people. So I hope that you'll join me. Christina said that means a lot. I'm still trying to get over my thinking that I'm a horrible parent. And you're not a horrible parent. I don't know what you're commenting about, but I think it's important to know that we're all human and we're all going to have our stress, our struggles, and so do our kids, and that's okay. I want to announce the winner really quick of the hashtag AT Self-Care contest that I'm doing for every single video. So the winner of this drawing will receive a free online class from my AT Parenting Survival School.com. And so I have about 7 classes, and they're like, some of them are about $127 each, and the winner will be able to pick one for free. And so Megan, I want to announce, Megan Dean, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, but I think you're with us live still. You are the winner, so congratulations. I will reach out to you and get you to pick which class you want. And so I hope that you find that helpful. I have one on how to crush anxiety, how to help your child crush anxiety. I have one on how to teach your kid to crush OCD. I have one on how to crush social anxiety. And so you have some good ones to choose from. I will be doing a contest for the next video. So if the way that you can get into the drawing, it's actually pretty simple. Go watch the video. Watch the video series. You can sign up for the video series. It's not too late. There's a link above, and there should be a link above where most people are. Megan is here. Yay, thank you. And I appreciate everybody who participated in the first raffle. And it was a small group of people, and I will put you all in for the next round. But if you want to join us, you can sign up for the video series, watch the videos, and then all you have to do is come into the Facebook group and use the hashtag ATSelfCare and just share an aha that you got from video number 2. We're working on video number 2 now, the one that's all about the body. And then when you use the hashtag ATSelfCare, I write your name down, put all your names in the pot and draw it. And then the winner of tomorrow's drawing will get my book, Anxiety Sucks, a Teen Survival Guide, and they will also get a free class as well. So pretty cool. And I hope that you're enjoying these. And who said that? Megan said, sorry, I missed it. How do I connect to sign up for a class? I will contact you and I will give you a link. If you can go to Parenting Survival School.com, and you can look at all my classes, and then I will contact you and ask you which one that you want to get for free. So, but I will message you and you will see that. So I hope that some of you will join me tomorrow. I will announce the winner of the second contest tomorrow. And then let me know how it's going. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you again tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern. Take care. Bye.